I used to believe I had it all. My name is Michael Anderson, and until 3 months ago, I thought I was living the American dream in Miami's exclusive Coral Gables neighborhood. At 35, I had built one of Florida's most successful real estate development companies, owned a beautiful Mediterranean-style mansion, and was married to what I thought was the love of my life, Victoria. Victoria was everything I had ever dreamed of in a partner. With her honey blonde hair, striking hazel eyes, and the kind of smile that could light up a room, she turned heads wherever we went. At 31, she worked as a luxury event planner, organizing high-end parties for Miami's elite. We met at one of my property launch events 5 years ago, and I fell hard for her sophisticated charm and ambitious spirit. My birthday started like any other perfect day in our marriage. I woke up to Victoria's homemade breakfast, eggs Benedict, my favorite, and a beautifully wrapped gift box containing a limited edition Rolex. She knew my taste perfectly, or so I thought. "Tonight's going to be special," she promised, kissing me before heading out to what she said was a client meeting. I spent the day at our newest development site, a luxury condominium project in South Beach. Everything was going smoothly, both in business and in life. Victoria had planned an intimate birthday dinner at Palm Door, one of Miami's most exclusive restaurants. She'd been oddly insistent about the reservation time, 8 p.m. sharp. Looking back now, I should have noticed the signs. The way she kept checking her phone during dinner, the slight tension in her shoulders when the waiter approached our table. But I was blind to it all, lost in what I thought was marital bliss. The first crack in our perfect facade appeared during the main course. Victoria's phone buzzed, not unusual for an event planner, but her reaction was. She practically jumped, quickly turning the phone face down after glancing at the screen. "Just work," she said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. I noticed she'd changed her phone's lock screen. The picture of us from our anniversary trip to the Maldives had been replaced with a generic ocean view. A small detail, but one that would later take on much greater significance. The call came just as our dessert arrived. Victoria excused herself, claiming it was an emergency with tomorrow's event. Through the restaurant's floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see her pacing on the terrace, gesturing animatedly. Her face showed an intensity I rarely saw in our personal conversations anymore. When she returned, her cheeks were flushed, and she'd reapplied her lipstick, something she never usually did during dinner. "Everything okay?" I asked, trying to keep my tone casual. "Oh, just client drama," she replied, waving it off. "You know how bridezillas can be." That night, as we drove home in my Range Rover, Victoria was unusually quiet. She kept looking out the window, her mind clearly elsewhere. When I reached for her hand, a habit we'd had since dating, she flinched slightly, before recovering, and giving me a forced smile. At home, Victoria claimed a headache and went to bed early, leaving me alone with my thoughts and a glass of birthday scotch in our waterfront garden. As I sat there, watching the moonlight dance on Biscayne Bay, I recalled small changes in our relationship over the past few months. Victoria had joined an exclusive Pilates studio 3 months ago, adding evening classes to her already busy schedule. She'd started dressing differently too. More designer workout gear, new jewelry I didn't recognize. Her usual perfume, which I'd given her last Christmas, had been replaced by something new and unfamiliar. Our intimate moments had become scarce, always accompanied by excuses about work stress or fatigue. When we did connect, it felt mechanical, as if she was going through the motions. The passion that had once defined our relationship had dimmed to a polite flicker. As I finished my scotch, a notification popped up on our shared iPad. A payment confirmation for a hotel booking at the Four Seasons. We had no planned stays there, and Victoria hadn't mentioned any events she was planning at the venue. That night, lying awake in our king-sized bed, listening to Victoria's steady breathing, I felt the first real stirrings of doubt. The perfect life I thought I had built started to feel like a carefully constructed illusion, and my birthday dinner had somehow become the lens that brought everything into sharp, uncomfortable focus. Little did I know, this was just the beginning. My 35th birthday would mark the start of a journey that would shatter every certainty I had about my marriage, my wife, and the life we'd built together. The morning after my birthday, I couldn't shake the unease that had settled over me. Victoria left early for what she said was a client breakfast, wearing a new Lululemon outfit I'd never seen before. "Don't forget, I have Pilates at 7 tonight," she called out as she left, her designer gym bag slung over her shoulder. Something compelled me to check our shared credit card statements that morning. Victoria and I had always been transparent about finances. We were both successful professionals who enjoyed the finer things in life. But what I found made my stomach turn. There were multiple charges from high-end boutiques I didn't recognize, all made during her supposed Pilates classes. A $3,000 charge at Agent Provocateur stood out. Victoria had always preferred simple, elegant lingerie from La Perla. The purchase was made on a Tuesday afternoon, when she'd told me she was meeting a bride at her venue. I decided to dig deeper. Our home security system kept a log of entry and exit times. Over the past 3 months, Victoria's patterns had shifted. She was leaving earlier, coming home later, and sometimes the system showed our front gate opening in the middle of the day, when she was supposedly at client meetings. That afternoon, I made an excuse to leave the office early and drove by her Pilates studio. The class schedule posted outside showed no evening sessions on Tuesdays or Thursdays, the days Victoria claimed to attend. My heart pounding, I pulled up the location sharing on our phones, a feature we'd enabled years ago for safety. Her dot showed she was at the studio right now, but the darkened windows told a different story. I waited in my car, feeling like a stranger in my own life. 20 minutes later, a sleek black Range Rover Sport pulled into the adjacent parking lot. Victoria emerged, but she wasn't wearing workout clothes. She was dressed in a fitted red dress I'd never seen, her hair and makeup immaculate. A man followed her out of the car, tall, athletic, probably in his early 30s. They embraced briefly before walking into a nearby wine bar. Through the window, I watched them select a private booth. The man, who I would later know as James Carter, sat too close, his hand resting casually on Victoria's thigh. They looked comfortable together, intimate in a way that spoke of familiarity. My phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. "Great workout. Heading to a quick client meeting. Don't wait up for dinner." I stared at the message, watching through the window as she sipped wine with her mysterious companion, her wedding ring glinting in the bar's soft lighting. That evening, I accessed Victoria's cloud backup. We shared an account for convenience. Recent photos showed her at various locations. On a boat I didn't recognize, at rooftop bars I'd never been to, and most damningly, several intimate selfies clearly meant for someone else's eyes. The man from the wine bar appeared in several photos. James Carter, according to his tagged Instagram profile. He owned an exclusive personal training studio in South Beach, catering to Miami's wealthy wives. His client testimonials were filled with glowing reviews from women who looked remarkably like Victoria. Their relationship seemed to have started 3 months ago, right when Victoria suddenly became interested in fitness. The messages suggested something deeper than a physical affair. They talked about future plans, shared jokes about their secret meetings, and even discussed vacation destinations. The final piece of evidence came from our smart home system. While reviewing security footage, I noticed James's Range Rover had visited our house several times when I was away on business trips. Victoria had brought her lover into our home, into our bed. As I sat in my home office, surrounded by digital proof of my wife's betrayal, I felt a strange calm settle over me. The successful real estate developer in me, used to handling complex negotiations and high-stakes deals, began to formulate a plan. I needed professional help to gather concrete evidence. Miami was full of private investigators, but I needed someone discreet, someone who understood the delicate nature of exposing infidelity among the city's elite. As I researched my options, Victoria's text arrived. Exhausted from workout. Staying in town for dinner with clients. Love you. I looked at our security cameras in time to see her and James leaving the wine bar, heading toward the Four Seasons. It was time to make a call and set things in motion. The perfect marriage was an illusion, but the truth would need to be revealed carefully, strategically, and with maximum impact. After careful research, I hired Maria Delgado, a former FBI agent turned private investigator, known for her discretion and thoroughness. We met at a quiet cafe in Coconut Grove, far from Victoria's usual haunts. Maria's reputation preceded her. She'd helped expose several high-profile affairs among Miami's elite. "Tell me everything," Maria said, her experienced eyes studying me as I laid out what I'd discovered. She took detailed notes, occasionally nodding as patterns emerged. "Classic signs," she commented, "but we need concrete evidence that will hold up in court." Over the next 2 weeks, Maria's surveillance revealed a pattern more elaborate than I'd imagined. Victoria and James weren't just meeting for casual encounters. They had established a routine that showed careful planning and deep emotional involvement. The Pilates studio was just one of several covers. Victoria had rented a small office space in South Beach, claiming it was for client meetings. Maria's surveillance showed it was actually a private love nest, furnished with expensive items charged to my credit cards. The investigation uncovered financial trails I hadn't found. Victoria had opened a secret bank account 3 months ago, gradually transferring small amounts from our joint account. The total now exceeded $50,000. Maria traced some payments to a real estate agent in Key West. They were planning to buy a vacation home together. James Carter's background check revealed more surprises. He wasn't just a personal trainer. He owned a string of high-end fitness studios across Miami. His client list read like a who's who of wealthy wives, and Victoria wasn't his first affair. Maria found evidence of at least 2 other relationships with married women, both ending in messy divorces. One afternoon, Maria called me urgently to her office. She'd intercepted messages between Victoria and James discussing their future plans. They were planning to leave Miami together after Victoria's birthday party, an event she was organizing at our home in 3 weeks. "They think they're being careful," Maria said, playing a recording from their latest meeting. Victoria's voice was clear. "After the party, everything will be different. Michael will be devastated, but he'll never see it coming." James's reply made my blood run cold. "You're sure about the prenup loophole?" The investigation revealed they'd been consulting with a divorce attorney specializing in challenging prenuptial agreements. Victoria had been gathering information about my business dealings, looking for ways to maximize her settlement. Maria's surveillance extended to their social circle. Several of Victoria's friends knew about the affair and had helped cover for her. They'd even used their own homes for meetings when James's apartment wasn't available. The betrayal wasn't just from my wife. It was from people I'd considered friends. "There's something else," Maria said, hesitating before showing me the last piece of evidence. "They've been recording their encounters." She handed me a USB drive containing videos taken in our home, in James's apartment, even in the office Victoria had rented. "They thought it was sexy," Maria explained, "but it's actually excellent evidence for the divorce." As I sat in Maria's office, surrounded by proof of my wife's elaborate deception, I felt a strange mix of emotions. The hurt was there, but it was overshadowed by a cold, calculating anger. Victoria and James had planned to blindside me at my own home during a party she was organizing. "What do you want to do?" Maria asked, her expression professional but sympathetic. "We have more than enough evidence for a divorce. We could end this now." I thought about Victoria's birthday party, still 3 weeks away. She'd been planning it for months. A lavish celebration at our home, with all our friends and family present. The perfect opportunity for their grand revelation. But perhaps it could serve a different purpose. "No," I replied, a plan forming in my mind. "Let's wait. They want to use her birthday party for their announcement. Fine, but we'll give them a party they'll never forget." Maria raised an eyebrow, understanding dawning on her face. "You want to turn their plan against them?" "Exactly," I said, feeling more in control than I had in weeks. "Let's give them a taste of their own medicine." The next 2 weeks were a masterclass in deception. Only this time, I was the one keeping secrets. While Victoria continued her elaborate charade of business meetings and Pilates classes, Maria and I built an airtight case against her and James. Our breakthrough came when Maria managed to access the security footage from Victoria's rented office space. The cameras had captured months of their encounters, including conversations about their plans to blindside me at the birthday party. They'd even discussed how to manipulate mutual friends into taking Victoria's side during the inevitable divorce. "Look at this," Maria said, showing me footage from last Tuesday. Victoria and James were reviewing documents, copies of my business contracts and bank statements she'd stolen from my home office. "They're planning to claim you hid assets during the marriage. James has a friend at the SEC who's willing to launch an investigation." The level of betrayal was staggering. Victoria wasn't just planning to leave me. She was plotting to destroy everything I'd built. The woman I'd loved for 6 years was willing to fabricate financial crimes to maximize her divorce settlement. Maria's team tracked their movements meticulously. They documented 17 different meetings in the past month alone, each one providing more damning evidence. Victoria had started moving valuable items from our home to a storage unit in Coral Gables, preparing for her eventual departure. The most shocking discovery came from their phone records. Victoria and James had been in contact for nearly a year before their physical affair began. He'd methodically worked his way into her life, first as a trainer, then as a confidant, and finally as a lover. Their messages revealed a calculated seduction that had started long before Victoria joined his gym. "Classic predator behavior," Maria explained. "He studied your schedule, learned your habits, and helped Victoria plan around them. He's done this before with other wealthy wives." The investigation had uncovered 3 previous affairs with married women, each following the same pattern. Financial records painted an even darker picture. James had convinced Victoria to invest in his newest gym location, using money from our joint accounts. But the business documents were fraudulent. The gym didn't exist. They'd been funneling the money into an offshore account, building their escape fund. One evening, while reviewing surveillance photos, I found something that made my blood run cold. Victoria was wearing a diamond bracelet I'd never seen before, identical to one James wore in other photos. They'd been exchanging matching jewelry, flaunting their connection in plain sight. Maria's team also discovered their post-party plans. They'd booked a private villa in the Maldives. Ironically, the same destination where Victoria and I had spent our honeymoon. They planned to leave directly from her birthday celebration, their dramatic exit designed to humiliate me in front of our social circle. "They've thought of everything," Maria said, showing me their travel arrangements. "Except for one thing. They don't know we know." She pulled out a folder containing documents that would become crucial to our counterplan. "These prove the premeditated nature of their scheme. No judge will look kindly on this level of deception." The evidence was overwhelming, but timing would be crucial. Victoria's birthday party was just days away, and she was busy with final preparations, unaware that her perfect plan was about to implode. She'd hired Miami's top caterer, arranged for live entertainment, and invited over 100 guests, all funded by my credit card. "Are you sure you want to wait?" Maria asked, concerned about the public nature of our planned revelation. "We could handle this privately, through lawyers." I looked at the latest surveillance photo of Victoria and James, caught in an intimate moment at their secret office. They were laughing, probably discussing how they'd soon be free to flaunt their relationship openly. "No," I replied firmly. "They wanted an audience for their announcement. Let's give them one they'll never forget." As I left Maria's office that evening, Victoria texted me about final party details, her message full of fake enthusiasm and love. Little did she know her perfect plan was about to become her worst nightmare. Victoria's birthday party was in full swing at our waterfront mansion. She looked stunning in a custom-made white Versace dress, her honey blonde hair styled in elegant waves. The irony of her wearing white wasn't lost on me. Our guests, Miami's elite social circle, mingled around the pool area, enjoying premium champagne and gourmet hors d'oeuvres. I played my part perfectly, the devoted husband hosting an extravagant party for his beloved wife. Victoria kept glancing at her phone, no doubt messaging James about their imminent revelation. He was scheduled to arrive fashionably late, giving them the dramatic entrance they'd planned. Maria's team was in position, disguised as catering staff and valet attendants. Every entrance and exit was monitored. The evidence we'd gathered was queued up on the massive outdoor screens, currently showing innocent party photos. One click would change everything. At 9:30 p.m., right on schedule, James made his entrance. He looked confident in his tailored suit, carrying a large gift box. Victoria's face lit up when she saw him, though she quickly masked her reaction. They exchanged a subtle nod, their signal that everything was proceeding according to plan. I watched as they maneuvered through the party, carefully maintaining their distance while slowly converging toward the main terrace. Victoria had arranged for a special announcement at 10 p.m., when she planned to reveal our marriage's end and her new relationship with James. At 9:45 p.m., I took the microphone for what everyone assumed would be a loving birthday tribute to my wife. "Victoria," I began, my voice steady. "You've always had a flair for dramatic revelations. Tonight, I'd like to share one of my own." The confusion on her face quickly turned to horror as the screens switched to surveillance footage of her and James. The first clip showed them entering their secret office, followed by time-stamped footage from various hotels and restaurants. The audio was crystal clear, their plotting impossible to deny. While my wife and her lover planned to announce their relationship tonight, I continued. They didn't expect me to beat them to it. Victoria, James, you might want to check your phones. The SEC has some questions about those fraudulent gym investments. Security footage from our home played next, showing Victoria removing valuables and documents. Then came the recordings of their conversations about fabricating financial crimes against me. The crowd gasped as their elaborate scheme unfolded on the screens. Victoria stood frozen, her perfect composure shattered. James made a move toward the exit, but found his path blocked by Maria's team. Oh, and James, I added, those other wives you've scammed. They're all pressing charges. The police are waiting outside. The evidence kept playing. Their matched jewelry, the offshore accounts, the falsified documents. Each revelation drew more shocked reactions from our guests. Victoria's friends, the ones who'd covered for her, slipped away in embarrassment. I filed for divorce this morning, I announced. Victoria, since you're so fond of our prenup's loophole, you should know it has a morality clause. Your attempt to fabricate financial crimes voids any claim you might have had. The party descended into chaos. Victoria tried to approach me, tears streaming down her face, but Maria's team kept her back. James attempted to flee but was detained by waiting police officers. Their perfect plan had imploded spectacularly. As Victoria was escorted out, she turned to face me one last time. "How long have you known?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "Long enough to learn from your example," I replied. "You taught me how to keep secrets, how to plan the perfect surprise. Consider this my birthday gift to you." The party ended abruptly, but the footage continued playing on loop, a final humiliation for the couple who'd planned to humiliate me. As guests departed, many stopped to express their support, though I knew some had been aware of the affair all along. Later that night, as the cleanup crew cleared away the evidence of the failed celebration, I sat by the pool with a glass of scotch. The Miami skyline glittered across the bay, unchanged despite the drama that had unfolded. My phone buzzed with messages from friends and family, but one text stood out. From Maria. "Phase 1 complete. Ready for Phase 2. I smiled, knowing that Victoria and James's public humiliation was just the beginning. The real consequences of their betrayal were about to unfold in the harsh light of legal proceedings and criminal investigations. The months following Victoria's birthday party brought swift and decisive changes. The scandal dominated Miami's social circles, but I remained focused on the legal proceedings. James was arrested for fraud and financial crimes, his pattern of exploiting wealthy wives finally catching up to him. Victoria, facing her own legal troubles, fled to her sister's house in Atlanta. The divorce proceedings went exactly as planned. Victoria's attempts to challenge the prenup failed spectacularly when her conspiracy to fabricate evidence came to light. The judge was particularly unimpressed by their scheme to falsely accuse me of financial crimes. In the end, she walked away with nothing but the clothes in her suitcase and her personal belongings. Maria's thorough investigation proved invaluable. The evidence she gathered helped not only my case, but also those of James's previous victims. 3 other wealthy wives came forward, sharing similar stories of manipulation and financial exploitation. James faced multiple fraud charges and the prospect of significant prison time. Victoria's event planning business collapsed overnight. Her high society clients quickly distanced themselves, canceling contracts and demanding refunds. The last I heard She was working as a junior coordinator at a small event company in Georgia. Her dreams of social climbing shattered. Surprisingly, the experience changed me in unexpected ways. I threw myself into work, but also started focusing on personal growth. I joined a support group for divorced executives, where I met others who'd been through similar betrayals. Their stories helped me understand that Victoria's actions reflected her character, not my worth. 6 months after the party, I sold our mansion. The memories it held were too tainted, and I was ready for a fresh start. I bought a modern penthouse in Brickell, its clean lines and panoramic views representing my new beginning. The space was entirely mine, free from Victoria's influence and decorating choices. One evening, while having dinner at a new restaurant in South Beach, I met Dr. Rachel Thompson, a pediatric surgeon who'd recently moved from Boston. She was refreshingly direct, brilliant, and completely uninterested in Miami's social scene. Our conversation flowed naturally, touching on everything from medical innovations to classic literature. "I heard about what happened with your ex-wife," she said during our third date. "You handled it with impressive grace." Her honesty was disarming, so different from Victoria's calculated charm. Life took unexpected turns. The story of Victoria's birthday party revelation became a cautionary tale in Miami's social circles. Several friends admitted they'd suspected something, but had been afraid to tell me. I forgave some, distanced myself from others, and learned valuable lessons about true friendship. Maria and I remained in contact, developing a genuine friendship. She occasionally consulted me on real estate matters for her clients, and I referred people who needed her services. "You know," she said during one of our lunch meetings, "some people let betrayal break them. You let it remake you." A year after the party, I received a letter from Victoria. She wrote about therapy, regret, and hoping for forgiveness. I read it once, then filed it away, feeling nothing but a distant pity for the woman who'd tried to destroy me. Her actions had led me to build a stronger, more authentic life. My relationship with Rachel progressed naturally, built on honesty and mutual respect. She understood my past, but didn't let it define our future. When she moved in with me 18 months after we met, it felt right. No games, no hidden agendas, just two people choosing to share their lives. The last I heard of James, he was serving time for fraud, his charming facade crumbling behind prison walls. Victoria occasionally appeared in social media posts from Atlanta, looking older and subdued, her designer lifestyle replaced by a more modest reality. As I write this from my penthouse office, watching the Miami sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, I realize that sometimes betrayal is just life's way of redirecting us towards something better. The man I am today, stronger, wiser, and genuinely happy, emerged from the ashes of that birthday party revelation. Rachel calls from the kitchen, asking about dinner plans. Her voice carries no hidden meanings, no subtle manipulations, just love, pure and simple. I smile, knowing that sometimes you have to go through the worst to find the best. The perfect life I thought I had with Victoria was just an illusion. What I have now is real, and that makes all the difference.